Hi everybody, my name is Angelena. My name can be traced back 6 generations in my family. I was named after my great-grandmother, who was named after her grandmother. My great-grandmother was born Angelena Harkin in rural Grundy County, Iowa on October 30th, 1903. She was the oldest daughter of 11 children. So as a child, she was expected to help out on the farm. She often told me stories about working on the family farm. She would tend to the animals, work in the fields. However, her biggest responsibility was helping to raise her younger brothers and sisters, which was very commonplace in that time, that the oldest daughter was relied on a lot to help with larger families. She did so and remaining at home until she was 18, at which point she married my biological great-grandfather, who's a man I've never met. However, after having 4 children with him, and she was about the age of 23, the relationship became very abusive. Although I've never spoke with my grandmother about him, I was reported to me by other individuals that he was an abusive, womanizing alcoholic. So therefore, my great-grandmother made the decision to divorce her husband. And at the time, she knew that it would mean she would have to raise her 4 small children on her own. She knew she would not get help from my biological great-grandfather or from the community. As she explained it to me on several occasions, at that time, women who were divorcees were looked upon differently than they are now because they chose to be in that situation. They chose to divorce their husband, so therefore they needed to help themselves out of the situation. Whereas someone who, let's say, may be a single mother because they were a widow, the community would rally behind them and help them out, but not so much for those individuals who they deemed were in that situation by choice. But needless to say, that was a decision my great-grandmother made. So therefore, she raised 4 children on her own. She often worked 3 jobs at a time. She's told me about times when she would work as a seamstress and a short order cook, and worked cleaning houses in Parkersburg, which is where she raised her children. So she did that until they were all out of the house, at which point my mother was born. And when she was born, she was also born into an abusive relationship. So therefore, my grandmother took on the great-grandmother took on the responsibility of raising my mom, which she did until my mother turned 18 and married my father. So therefore, that means that my great-grandmother raised 5 children as a single mother from 1923 until about 1967 when my parents got married. My great-grandmother was an amazing woman. I have very fond memories of her, one of which involves my oldest daughter. I can remember sitting picking raspberries in my great-grandmother's backyard when my oldest daughter was 10 days old, and my grandmother at 93 years old was able to sit there and rock her and cradle her and comfort her while I was picking blackberries so that my grandmother could make her own homemade blackberry jam. The thing is that my grandmother was an amazing woman who was obviously strong and knew hard work and knew how to work hard in order to provide for her family, and then eventually for my mother, also her granddaughter. That being said, as I said earlier, I was named after her. She always went by Lena, and I went by Angie. So even though we shared a name, we were very unique and individuals in our names also. I did not have an appreciation of my name, of being named after her, until after her death. As a child, I was relentlessly teased about my name because most of my schoolmates considered it weird or strange. So I went by Angie. I can remember doing basic skills tests and having to ask my teachers how to spell my name because I never spelled out my full name, Angelena. I only used that on times when I was in trouble. When I would get in trouble with my mother, that was the only time I ever heard Angelena being referred to. So as I got older and progressed in my maturity, I began to realize just how unique and beautiful and incredibly blessed and lucky I am to be named after such an incredibly strong woman. Thank you.